Next, we're going to move on to our keynote speaker. I did have a surprise for you once I realized George was going to be able to come spend some time with us today. I had lined up what I thought was awesome, a competition. You know, we have, usually, today we would have three of what I consider the best running backs in the University of South Carolina history. Coach Bobby Ivy over there, King Dixon, and of course George. And we were going to do a 40-yard dash out front, see who's faster now. Coach Ivy did say we need to drop that back to 10 yards, so I don't know. Anyway, we won't get to see that today. As if you all probably don't know any of this, I'd like to read something brief on our guest speaker today. George Rogers is a former college and professional football player who was a running back also in the National Football League during the 1980s. He played college football at University of South Carolina, was All-American, and won the 1980 Heisman Trophy, which you see right here in front of us today. He was the first overall pick in the 1981 NFL Draft, and he played professionally for the New Orleans Saints and Washington Redskins. As a pro, George Rogers rushed for over 7,000 yards. You may have written this, George. It says he is also known as the greatest player to ever play at the University of South Carolina. Without further ado, let's welcome George Rogers.
I'm going to try to be as loud as the coaches.
Yes, sir.
I've got my little cheat sheet right here. First of all, I want to thank Jim Furman for getting me out here. Guess what? He ain't even here. He ain't even around. I'm going to tell y'all this joke. I'm going to see if y'all get it. There was this school teacher, and every time the school teacher come in this classroom, she would say, a whale cannot swallow a human being because the digestive system just couldn't do it. But one day when she came in and said, little girl raised her hand and said, that's not true because the whale swallowed Jonah. And the school teacher looked at her and said, you know, they write a whole lot of things in the Bible, they ain't got to be true. So the little girl got mad and said, well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah, did the whale swallow? And the teacher looked at her and said, well, what if he ain't there? She said, you ask him. Well, I'll tell you what, when I get to heaven, I ain't going to ask her anything. When I go around and talk, I like to talk about some of the experiences I had. You might think I've done everything good because I won the Heisman Trophy. No, I come from my mom worked real hard. She kept 5 kids, and I was probably the baddest of the 5. And I stayed into everything. I had old bicycle frames I would fix up and go to the dumpster and get them and come back, bring them back to my house. And my mom would say, get that junk out of this yard right now. And I'd go hide it somewhere and go take it back out. But you know what? Football came to me in a strange way. I started playing football because I seen all my friends out there playing. And all they was doing was throwing the ball up. And I thought that's what you're supposed to do, just throw the ball up and whoever get it, they just take off running. All of a sudden I found myself in a real football game. Quarterback out in the huddle said, we're going to pitch the ball right to you. He pitched the ball right to me, and I stood up there just like that, and they knocked the crap out of me. I mean, my helmet twisted, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to play. So the coach wouldn't let me play no more. Later on during the season, I started learning and picking up, how you're supposed to play. Boy, one day I had walked to this football game. I had walked about 3 miles to this football. I had to walk about 3 miles to this football game. And when I got there, the coach wouldn't let me play. So what do? I'm a little boy. I start crying, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. And I'm just calling, and I can remember like it was yesterday. This guy said, what's that little boy doing all that crying for? And then one of my teammates said, he crying because he don't know how to play, and the coach won't let him play. I said, I do know how to play, I do know how to play. They said, won't they put him in the game? They losing anyway. All of a sudden, the coach comes over there and he puts his hand on my mouth, and I'm crying, I want to play, I want to play. I'm going to show him I know how to play. Got in the game, we did the same play again. I got that ball, I took off running. I went down that sideline, I was gone. I ran to there was no more grass there. I turned around and all my teammates came toward me and I started dodging them too. All of a sudden they tackled me and I hit the ground, and one of my teammates said, boy, you just scored a touchdown. There the end zone is right there. And that's what I've been running toward, the end zone every day. And that's funny how God put you in a position position. And now, after I found out what I was supposed to do, I started playing football. Well, let me tell you, the worst experience I had was when I got to, get a little bit better when I was in high school recruiting. Let me tell you, that was a mess. I was gonna go to Tennessee, and then I was gonna go to Georgia Tech, and then I went to Stewart University, South Carolina. Let me tell you, when I told my mom and them that I was going to the University of South Carolina, I said, no, you ain't. And Jim Carlin was the only coach that came to me and said, son, we have 2 running backs leaving, you can play your freshman year. And when he said that, that's why I went to the University of South Carolina. That's why I went. And I made a good decision. My mom said, I am not signing nothing until you make sure that that's where you want to go. And I had my mind made up. When I went up to visit South Carolina, I loved the band, I loved the atmosphere I was in. And guess what? I had to fight to get in school. I mean, I had you had to have a 2.0 to get in college. You know what I graduated from high school with? A 2.016. I mean, I barely made it in. I barely made it in. That's why, guys, it's important that you make those grades. Because I got in by the hair of my chin. But I could have very easily slipped, I could have been digging ditches. A lot of things I could have did. Been married, I was married 27 years. I had 3 kids. I got one that went to the University of Furman. Now, just beat us. I didn't like that when you said that. But you know what? Well, every time, you know how you know when they made it, coach? When they don't call you and ask for nothing. When I got that kid, he went back and got his master's. Don't call me and ask me for nothing. Vice president of a company, got 2 grandkids, Ron, got a wife that's a lawyer. I wonder how that happened. I mean, you got to be smart to get a lawyer, don't you? He was smart young man. Got a son that got Player of the Year in South Carolina at Irmo High School. We call him Trey. He's George Rogers III. Had scoliosis. Couldn't play football anymore. Thought he was going to die because he couldn't play football anymore. I said, boy, you're going to get that education. That's what you're going to get. Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, had I not graduated from the University of South Carolina, you think they would have gave me a job? I'm going to answer that for you. No, they wouldn't. And rightly so. Because you got to learn that you got to have an education. That's the only thing that's going to take you a lot further than football will. Yes, I was able to play in the NFL. And let me tell you something, them boys in the NFL, they hit. It's real, it ain't no joke now. I was able to do some of the things I've done because I had my offensive line. I always praise my offensive line. Because when you are a team, that right there is a team award. It's not a George Rogers award. My teammates helped me get that. And I can tell you right now, every time I went out there on the field, they would say, how many yards you have? I said, I had about 150. Those guys would say, well, we're going to do better next week. And I can remember going up to Michigan and beating Michigan at Michigan. I'm going to tell you how we beat them. We went out there to warm up, right? And then we saw them coming out there, and they were big. I mean, everybody said, ooh, wee. I mean, we just mumbled. Look how big he is. I mean, they were big. I mean, huge. After we got warmed up, we went in. And they had a habit of if you go out before they do, they'll run through you. And our coaches was arguing that that's what they're going to do to us if we go out before they do. The referee came in there and said, y'all got to go out anyway. What did they do? They run through us. Boy, Coach Collins said, I'm going to tell y'all something. If y'all go out there and whoop their ass, I'll go over there and beat Bo Schemberger ass. Oh, we were like, oh, yeah, that's on now. And we went out there, and I'll tell you what, we started putting it on. I'm talking about putting it on, too. And we ended up winning that game. And it probably was the biggest game at South Carolina that I played in, other than playing Georgia. And all them games that I played in Georgia were pretty big. But we went up there and we beat them at Michigan in front of 103,000. Now this is back 30 years ago. You know, they pack them up now easy. We even got 90,000. I think we had about 50 then. Now we got about 90 to play at our place. But 103,000 people saw us beat them at Michigan. And you know what they did? We went on to lose the bowl game. They went on and won their bowl game. Ain't that something? Footballs are different. It's whoever wanted the baddest. And if you're a football player, you got to want it. And I got one of my kids told me, he said, why you don't want, why you didn't want me to play football? Because I didn't want him to get the injuries. But football had taught me a big lesson. That is, if you can make it, that's good. But if you ain't got that education, you have lost. You have got to get that education. You know, I try not to talk long. I try to say things that I mean. Like I said, have you guys seen? There's going to be some commercials come out. I don't know if y'all saw them already, but the Heisman House do a lot of commercials, and I'm going to be in 2 or 3 of some of them.
You saw one last night.
You saw one last night. Well, anyway, forgive me for some of the things that I've done in some of them commercials. They got this one. I'm gonna tell y'all about it. They got this big old bowl of cereal, and Marcus Allen comes in and says, these Fruity Flakes are 30 years old, and everybody starts spitting them out. Just spit one. And guess what? What I'm doing with mine, big bowl. I'm studying. Believe me, they wasn't Fruity Flakes for real. But that's one of the commercials that we did, and it's just a lot of fun. And going up there, being with those guys like, you know what I'm talking about, R3 and the Redskin quarterback, and what's the guy from Texas A&M? Johnny Manziel. See, I got that NFL concussion. Now y'all can confirm that. I have got that NFL concussion, and we ain't settled yet. So y'all know I got that. I just asked y'all what Johnny Manziel's name was. I'm all of a sudden I remember his name, not right? But yeah, I got some issues with playing football because, believe me, I got a lot of injuries, but I would do it all over again. Football has been good to me. I've enjoyed playing football. I love going to the University of South Carolina.